Well, okay. Well, thanks for joining me today. I really
Yeah, no
appreciate it.
problem.
So we're doing this new segment and it's going to be called the Night League. So, and you're actually the first guest, so I'm really excited that you're joining today.
Good.
Yeah. I just really want to get to know the backstory and get to know you as a coach kind of behind, your profession, because I feel as though so many people don't really get an understanding of athletes or even coaches at the end of the day. And that you guys have other passions outside of, your profession. So I just kind of want to get to know you. And so if you want to start off and where you're from and kind of how you got into basketball a little bit.
That's a long,
Is it a
convoluted.
long combo? Okay, well, this will be good then. Let's start with where you're from. We can start there.
Yeah, so I'm from Fulton, Kentucky, which is a really small town in Southwest Kentucky. I graduated with about 50 people in my high school class.
Yeah.
We didn't have a stoplight in my hometown until I was a senior in high school, and I think it took them about 2 years to put that in. So from
Really?
really, really small town, went to University of Kentucky. Like a lot of guys, I thought I was probably going to play in the NBA till I was about a junior in high school. Realized I wasn't, and I ended up just going to Kentucky to be kind of a normal student.
Okay.
About 2 years into it, I really missed the game. I missed playing. Just wanted to be a part of it. So I actually went to the equipment manager at Kentucky and said, "Hey, is there any way I could get involved here at Kentucky?" And he kind of laughed at me and said, "Well, unless somebody you're related to is the governor or has a name on the building or something like that, then
You can't get
you're way
in.
too late, buddy." So he actually picked up the phone for me though and got me a volunteer job at Georgetown College with Coach
Okay.
Happy. And so I did that for the 04-05 season. We went to the Elite Eight, won over 30 games. It was a really good experience. It was strange because I was coaching some guys that I actually played with on all-star teams and AAU teams in high school. So
Oh, okay.
same guys I used to play with, I was trying to tell them what to do now. So that was
They're like, we're not going to listen to you. You played with us.
an interesting dynamic. So went from Kentucky to the NBA and
Yeah.
did an internship with the Charlotte Bobcats at the time, Hornets now. Was there for a year in 06-07. Went from there to actually got out of basketball and went to the NCAA and did an internship program. It's a really good experience, but also taught me, hey, I want to be back on the court and not behind the desk.
Yeah.
So great experience, but wanted to get back into it. Went from the NCAA to Coach Hamilton's staff at Florida State,
Okay.
the video coordinator for those guys. We went to 3 straight NCAA tournaments in my time there, Sweet 16. Had 6 guys play in the NBA from the staffs I was on there. And then took a job with Andy Enfield at a place nobody had ever heard of at the time, Florida Gulf Coast. 2 years later, we're in the Sweet 16, beat Georgetown and San Diego State in the NCAA tournament. Coach Enfield takes the USC job, and I was very close to following him. But we were returning a big part of our team and felt like we could be really good for a long time. So I stayed here at FGCU with Coach Joe Dooley, and we
Okay.
won 4 out of 5 league titles. We had 2 players from our rosters here sign NBA contracts. Went to two more NCAA tournaments, won a game, 2 NITs. So really had unbelievable success with him also. And then I got the head coaching job here in April of 2018.
Wow. You have had an amazing experience. You've been kind of everywhere and been able to see so much, especially in Kentucky too. I feel like that's such a big name, and even Georgetown too, like you mentioned. Those are 2 really big names in the basketball world. So you've kind of seen a little bit of everything. But just starting off, I guess, because so much going on, but how did you get into basketball? Did you grow up playing it and that's how, or did your dad play? Or like, I know at least for me, growing up, I had my dad playing hockey and things like that. And that's how me and my sister got into sports. So how did you get it? Because I know it typically starts with families. So
Yeah, so in that state, I mean, the world revolves around basketball in the state of
yeah.
Kentucky. It's kind of born in. So I grew up, watching every UK game from the time. Some of my first memories in life were watching Kentucky basketball games with my dad.
Really?
So that was really kind of what we did. I had a little Dr. J hoop that he bought me when I was really small. And so from the time I could remember, Dad and I were playing basketball together, watching basketball together. I played all the way through high school, had some small school recruitment, thought I was a little better than I was, and
Yeah.
didn't really look into those schools because I thought bigger schools were coming. And when they did not,
Yeah.
I was a little frustrated, and like I said, ended up just going to Kentucky to be a normal student. But yeah, I played my whole life and played up till about probably 5 or 6 years ago, and then realized, you know what, it's time to do elliptical jog and
That's awesome. So what was your favorite basketball memory growing up?
great question. I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that.
No, it's
I don't
tough.
know.
It's tough.
Yeah, I don't know what the best one was. The most memorable one was for a lot of Kentucky people, I think, when Christian Laettner hit the shot in '92 that put Kentucky out of the Elite Eight, in that famous game. And I remember where I was. I was sitting in my parents' room with my dad. My mom was re-wallpaper in the bathroom, and I was in second grade. And I was in tears when Laettner hit that shot. I mean, it ruined my whole life at that point.
Oh no.
That's definitely, I don't know the best growing up, but that's definitely the most memorable moment. Probably the best thing in general. My dad worked two jobs my whole life. He worked 12-hour shifts at a tire factory and then would come home, work me out in the mornings, then owned his own business and did that too. So really just that relationship, he allowed me to pursue my dreams because he basically worked to make sure that, we could live a good life and that I was
Yeah.
able to pursue those dreams.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's so helpful at the end of the day that your family pushes you and helps you with your dreams, and they're there for you and they're working hard for your dreams too. Now, do you have a family now and they're, excited about basketball too?
I do. So,
Yeah.
my wife Heather, she actually went to Georgetown College where I coached.
Okay.
We did not meet each other there, know each
Oh
other, but
wow.
we got a mutual friend. So we actually met here in Fort Myers. She's an attorney here in Fort Myers,
Okay.
and then got he turned 1 on June 19th. So
Oh yay.
13 months. His name's Jack Archer.
Yeah.
So we're enjoying life in quarantine with him.
Yeah. Are you guys getting into any hobbies with quarantine?
We've done like probably a lot of people. We binge watch a lot of shows and read some
Yeah.
books. We go on. Well, now we're back at the office a little more, but before we
Okay.
would go on morning walks and night walks. We've become 5 a.m. people, which is not
Eh?
necessarily fun, but really the only way to get up and get some exercise in before the baby wakes up. So we get up at
Yeah.
5 a.m. One of us either jogs or she'll walk, and the other one of us does the row machine. So
Oh,
uh,
there you go.
we picked up, I'd say, a little bit of responsibility and discipline during quarantine.
That's awesome. Now, you said you've been watching a lot more shows. Do you have a favorite show that you can tell the fans, like, go
Uh,
watch this on Netflix? Because I feel like we've already gone completely through Netflix and watched everything possible. So,
so we watched Ozark.
okay.
Got me on Tiger King, and it became like a train wreck. We
Oh my gosh.
wanted to turn it off, but we couldn't.
When this
Uh,
is all over, I want to at least go check out the exhibits over there. Isn't there one in Florida? I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I think so. I think the one woman Carol on there is in Florida.
Yes. Yes. You have
So
to go
yeah,
check that out. You're probably not too far, but
well,
same
as you
state.
know, watching the news, Florida's quite interesting. And then we just finished. What did we just finish? I just finished watching Atlanta. I think Heather and I were watching something, but I can't remember what it was now. That'll show you what a quarantine will do to you.
Right?
But
You watch so many, you don't even know what you've watched.
about everything. I can't. Well, we're watching The Shy right now about
Okay.
Chicago, Showtime. So we watch quite a few.
Okay, there you go. Pass the time getting into different shows. Now back to basketball. If you could go back in time and give your young self, a piece of advice, what would you give yourself?
Um, Probably, I was very fortunate. I would probably remind myself that, or let myself know that sometimes you can feel like you've done everything to put yourself in a place to be successful, and that doesn't always mean you're going to have immediate success. And I'll give you
Yeah.
2 examples. A really hard lesson for me when I was young. Um, I was really close with the Charlotte personnel, the head coach, Coach Bickerstaff, our assistant general manager, our assistant coaches. So I felt like, hey, I'm probably going to spend the rest of my career in the NBA because I got these great relationships and
Yep.
did a good job. And when you're 22, 23, you kind of think, hey, if I do a great job, it's all going to roll for me. And so I learned early. I did a great job there. We had great relationships. I think I was headed towards a full-time job when my internship was over there in Charlotte. And Michael Jordan bought the team. And when he did, he brought in his own people, which is customary. So we were all let go. So at a young age, I had to learn, hey, I showed up every day. I worked hard. I built relationships. I did a great job. But at the end of the day, something out of my control kept me from being successful. My other example, we had wild success as far as wins and losses here at FGCU when I was an assistant. So you always think, well, when I get the head coaching job, we'll be even better. Well, I joke with recruits now, even it was great to get the head coaching job, but all 5 starters, 2 NBA players, multiple overseas pros that led us to all those titles and banners, and
Yeah.
those guys were all gone. So
Yeah.
we've really had to hit reset on the program. And actually, somebody reminded me yesterday. I was sharing some frustrations about some things in the first couple of years, and he said, "Hey, man," and he said, "I know that we all judge success on wins and losses." He said, "But you've built a successful program." He said, "Now you just got to trust the work." He said, "You've set the GPA record in the program 4 straight semesters. You've got guys that are not into off the court issues, and everybody's showing up to every game. Now the wins are going to follow." So, but those are 2 situations where I felt like I put myself in the best chance I could to have success. And for whatever reason, immediate success didn't follow.
Yeah. And that's always tough too, because like you said, if you don't have that immediate success, you're doing, from A to B to C, you're doing all the different things that you think that will get you into that position. And with sports, it's like you said, someone new could come in and just wipe it completely and bring in their people. So sports is so different nowadays. But if you could give another piece of advice for people that are trying to get into sports, because it is such a difficult field to get into, what would you tell them?
I would say don't be afraid to move,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to work for free. And those are the 2 best pieces of advice. I think especially, so this is always the speech I give to managers, to guys that reach out to me about how I kind of climb the ladder, and just kind of what my thoughts are. I think that from about age 22 till your early 30s, you really have to be willing to kind of gamble with your life. And by that, I mean, you've got to be willing to say, hey, I'm going to move at any time. It doesn't matter where it is in the country, in the world. I'm going to go if it's the right opportunity. You have to be willing to not acquire any savings. You have to be willing
Yeah.
to work just about for free, because there's so many people that
Yeah.
want to get into it. And then you also have to realize, just like I said, when you get into basketball, it really is like roulette. I mean,
Mhm.
you may win, you may not have injuries, you may, you know, stumble into some great players, whatever it might be, or you might never make a cent coaching, or you may
Yeah.
be out of the business in 5 years. There's no guarantees in sports. But I think to have a chance, you've got to be willing to, like, some guys will tell me, well, coach, I really want to coach, but I want to coach in the state of Florida. Well, not how it works. You may
Yeah.
have to Washington or New York or Phoenix, or
Yeah. Your
wherever.
end may be there, but you have to move around and kind of get a little bit of everything before you make it back to wherever it is.
Correct. And sometimes even then you got to go where the job is,
Yep.
and again, some guys will say, oh, well, the money. I'm like, hey man, if it's about the money, then don't do it anyways, because the
Yeah.
money, I joke with people, I don't think I made the same dollar amount as my age until I was like 32 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
you just have to be prepared for that. So those I think are the biggest things. Just that you're willing to do those things. You're willing to move around. You're willing to work for free if you have to.
Yep.
And if you hit 32, 33 and you haven't been able to get anywhere, it may be time to look elsewhere. But I think when you get out of college, you've got about 8 to 10 years that you say, okay, I'm going to give it everything I've got. Let me see where it takes me.
Yep. Just build that resume and try a little bit of everything, even different departments, maybe not head coaching, maybe assistant coaching, maybe strength and conditioning, maybe there's so many different ways with sports too, and kind of testing the waters. But interning is huge as well. Like you said, sometimes, doing interning or working for free with sports, just getting that interaction with someone and being able to make that connection and later on maybe if something opens up. But did you intern at one point? I'd assume so, but
Yeah, so I actually, people laugh at me. I'm a huge fan. That's probably another thing I should say. I'm a big believer in internships. So
Mhm.
in the course of my career, I did a marketing and PR internship at a firm. I did a internship with a basketball website and as a writer. I did an internship there in the NBA. I did an internship with the NCAA.
Oh wow.
I interned a ton,
Yeah.
but it was because one, you have to get experience,
Mhm.
and two, there's times that you don't know what you like or don't like until you try it. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it's important to try different things because I thought I was going to love working in the NBA and I learned a lot, but I really, after having that experience, I didn't have any desire to go back to the NBA. I thought I was going to love working in sports business at the NCAA and did not, I enjoyed the connections, but I didn't really enjoy the job itself.
Yeah.
And so I just kept trying. I thought I'd like working in public relations and business. So I really just kept trying some things until I found something that I loved.
But that's smart because, like you said, you do something and you think you're going to like it, and then you actually get into it, and it is nothing of what you expect. So it's really good to do those interning jobs and looking online and testing the waters and just seeing how it is. But now I kind of want to check into your team and how everything's coming out of quarantine and this whole situation. What are you guys doing over there? Anything new? Anything different? Obviously.
Yeah. So I didn't even know what Zoom was a few months ago. And
Right.
now I live my life on here. So what we do is we do a weekly team Zoom meeting
Okay.
where we get on and we've done everything from uh, talking about racial injustice to having speakers on campus in the Office of Multicultural Development.
Okay.
Uh, we have done a goal setting session with our guys and partnering them up with accountability partners on the team. So they're checking in with each other. We actually have a leadership council made up of 3 different players that they kind of take the message of the coaching staff and pass that on to the rest of the team. So they're working hard kind of on team rules, working on, things that we want our team to stand for and be about. And then what I'm trying to do as a head coach is try to FaceTime those guys once every week or two and just check in on them. And hey, man, how you doing? How's your family doing? Are you able to get in the gym? So it's been an interesting off season for sure.
Yeah,
Uh, we're getting through it just like everybody else.
that's awesome to hear. And that's really nice that you're even checking in with all the guys and making sure everyone's okay. And I feel like these are really tough times for a lot of people, and everyone handles it so differently. Now, do you have any specific platform as a head coach? Do you live by maybe a quote or anything that you always remind your players at the end of the day or even in the locker room before a game?
Yeah, so there's a few things. One, I stole this from Loyola actually, Chicago. But we talk a lot about that our culture has to be better than their talent. And so
Okay.
we have we have to do things the right way on the court, off the court. We have to execute. We have to do everything in our power to make sure we don't beat ourselves. So we talk a lot about that. There were times in my career here where you look on my background, there's an NBA guy, there's a guy that was top 25 in the history of NCAA basketball and assists. I mean, because we've kind of had to hit reset on the program, we weren't rolling in every night with the best players on the court at every position like we have in years past. We
Yeah.
used to say that all the time. Hey, our culture has to be better than their talent because if we're executing, if we're doing things the right way, if guys aren't getting suspended based on academics or stuff off the court, then it gives us the best chance to win. So I would say that's probably the number one. And then we just talk a lot about, hey guys, we're going to do things the right way here. And what does that mean? Well, that just means don't embarrass yourself, don't embarrass the program, don't embarrass your family. And we want guys, we say this a lot, that are everyday guys that when they wake up in the morning, we want them to think about, hey, I'm going to do my best to do things the right way today. Now, every day, guys aren't going to be perfect. They're going to not do well on an exam or, they're going to show up late to something, but we want guys that are going to at least try to do things the right way. And, I've coached guys in the past at different times where you knew they were looking to get out of doing things the right way. So we
Yeah.
try to really emphasize that and then hold the guys accountable to that as well.
That's awesome. And wake up and at least try and put their best foot forward. And you are supporting them throughout the whole time, which is great as a head coach. You know, they look up to you and they see you putting your foot forward and making that effort in the right direction. So I think that's huge. But as a head coach, what has been your biggest success throughout your career?
One of my biggest what?
Success
Um, as a head coach or in general?
in general, as a head coach in general, like your biggest
So,
success.
yeah, so as a head coach, again, we've kind of had 2 years of rebuild. So I don't have a ring collection yet as a head coach, like I was fortunate enough to as an assistant. But the way that we define success in our first 2 years is, again, setting the GPA record every semester I've been the head coach, retaining, I think that's a big thing in your program. We've retained the guys in the program that we want to retain, that fit the
Yeah.
program, that are going to be successful in the program. And that can be a challenge in college basketball now too, with so many transfers and the way things are. So I would say to this point, our first year here, my first year as the head coach, we signed the newcomer of the year in the league. We had the best home record in the league. We finished
Awesome.
third in the league in a year where we had to replace everything. So it was really a impressive job, I thought, by our players to take a team of guys that had really never played together. Most of them had not played college basketball, meaningful minutes,
Yeah.
and to be able to finish in the top three in the league and have the best home record in the league was pretty impressive. As an assistant, I was really fortunate, probably the Sweet 16 run here at
Yeah.
FGCU, just because, it was historical, had never been done, and hasn't still in the history of college basketball, a 15 seed going to the Sweet 16. So, I would be lying if I told you that there was anything different than that. But we've been so fortunate, to win multiple league titles and to go to 3 straight tournaments when I was at Florida State. So I've been around really good coaches and really good players.
That's awesome. Now, how was your experience? Talk about that Sweet 16 experience as an assistant coach and getting to that top three.
Yeah, so it was interesting because we went to the Sweet 16 when I was at Florida State, but there it's a little more expected. We had
Yeah.
NBA players. We were the year that we went to the Sweet 16. I'm trying to remember what seed we were that year. I should remember that, but we weren't a low seed, so it wasn't that. It was still a thrill, but that was an expectation we had. In our second year at FGCU, it was actually only the second year that the program was Division I eligible. So in the second year that we were Division I eligible, we basically became the biggest story in March. And so it was surreal to experience because, we thought Georgetown was a pretty good matchup for us just from a style of play standpoint.
Yeah.
But none of us thought, that we were going to beat them and beat them by double figures and beat them in the style that we did. So that was a great win. And then on a one-day turnaround to come back and beat San Diego State. And thank God Kawhi Leonard had left the year before. I'm not sure that would have happened. But still, to win that game over Coach Fisher, who'd won a national title at Michigan and coached the Fab Five, and just to have that experience was very surreal in the moment, and it's been something that I look back on fondly, but has also, brought a lot of pressure and weight with it because even though we actually had some teams at FGCU that you could argue were better than our Sweet 16 team from a talent standpoint and from a size standpoint and depth, but we didn't make it that far in March just based on matchups and whatnot. So, it was a great experience, but it's something that, we live with every day. Can we get back to the NCAA tournament? Can we win a game? It set the bar extremely, extremely high for this program, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
But we really had more success, than anyone had expected at such a rapid rate that the expectations are very, very high now.
Yeah. Well, that's so awesome to hear. I know those experiences are something that you can always look back on and or even, motivate you guys to push you in that right direction. So I think that's great. Now, clearly you are passionate about basketball, but are you passionate about anything else outside of basketball?
So it does take up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I would say now, my son, people would joke with me when I was an assistant, especially, and say, "Hey, man, our ops guy actually used to say, please get a hobby. Please. Recruiting is not a hobby. I know
No.
you think it is, but it's not." So that used to be a running joke with us. He begged me to get a hobby. So now I spend most of my time that I'm not at work with my son, with my wife. We're big foodies. We love to try new restaurants.
Really?
My assistant coaches will tell you anytime we go recruiting in a city, especially if it's known, if it's New York, if it's Georgia, if it's New Orleans, somewhere where they're known for culture and for food.
Food, yes.
I've been known to sample as many places as possible. So I would say we're foodies. Like I said, we're big into movies. Got a pretty eclectic taste in music. So, but I did have a lot more hobbies before I got into basketball, probably than I do now.
Yeah. Do you guys like to cook at home? Like, is there a dish that you specifically like to make, or do you like to order out a lot?
It's funny. We actually don't do either. We actually, I do not have an endorsement deal with these guys, but maybe I should after this. But we
Yeah,
actually,
you shout them out right now. Maybe get a deal.
we work with a company called Freshly, where
Oh, okay.
you can order cooked meals and you literally just throw them in the microwave, but they're not, microwave dinners. They're good meals.
Yeah.
So smaller portions, there are fewer calories sometimes than if you try to cook on your own. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing for Heather and I because she's an attorney. I'm a basketball coach. So as you can imagine, there's not a ton of time left for
No.
cooking. So now she is a very good cook. We just don't get a chance to do that a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's late nights for a coach and obviously her too. So by the time you guys get home and you're tired, that's a perfect way to do it. I've heard of those and I've heard they're actually really good. So I need to try. Maybe we'll get them to have an ad or something in this, but that's awesome. Now, you've tried a lot of places in Fort Myers. Where is like a good place if I was out there that you would suggest to try?
From a restaurant standpoint,
Yeah,
you're putting me on the spot
I
here, but
know.
all of our corporate sponsors are gonna
Oh
get.
no. Okay, how about like an Italian place? Because that's my favorite. So we can do that. So it's
Well,
not biased.
I'm gonna give you two actually. So I'll give
Okay.
you there's a place called Artisan Eatery that's actually right up the street from me that uses all locally farmed organic
Ooh,
products, and
that sounds
so it's all local, all Fort Myers based. They actually support the university as well, so it is extremely good.
okay.
Heather and I eat there quite a bit. We have a ton of Italian restaurants here that are very, very good.
Okay.
I would say probably Two Meatballs in the Kitchen is another restaurant that's here not far from my house that we go to quite a bit. It's a very good Italian restaurant.
Okay.
And probably Connor's Steakhouse is a place that we take recruits quite a bit and tend to go after games. So those are some of my favorites. But like I said, I'm sure I'll get in trouble with anybody that I did not mention.
Yeah. Well, what's your favorite type of food? Is it Italian? Is it Mexican? Is there like a specific type you like?
Yeah, probably Italian. I mean, I
Yeah.
love Heather and I are big New York City fans. We go there every chance we get.
Yeah.
Go to Italy, try all the
Oh
different
yeah.
restaurants. I actually, at point in my life, speaking of trying different things, I managed a wine bar at one point. So,
Wait, really?
enjoying that
Wow.
time to time. So, we like Italian restaurants. I would say Italian's probably my favorite.
Okay. So you've kind of done a little bit of everything, it sounds like. That's awesome. What was something like, if you weren't being a coach, what would you be doing? I know you've kind of been a little bit around everything. So what would you do if it wasn't for this?
So I'm minored in psychology, and it's funny because obviously I use that quite a bit with what I do. I always thought I might want to be a therapist. I didn't want to be a psychiatrist and have to go to med school, but
Yeah.
I thought,
Journey.
yeah, I thought that I might be a therapist. And then actually, when I graduated from Kentucky, I had no idea what I was going to do. And so I actually became like the poster child for the University of Kentucky Career Center because I started just going to the Career Center every day for months. So I'm like in brochures there. I
You
mean,
can still see it to this
yeah,
day.
so I looked into everything from going to law school to getting back to being a foodie. I wanted to be a food critic at one point and travel the world and try restaurants.
That'd be
So
the life. I would
yeah,
love that.
I,
Sign me up.
I would say my dream job if I wasn't coaching would be a food critic.
Okay. I like that. I'm big into food too, so I think that would be a dream job just to be able to kind of taste a little bit of everything and just live the life. I think that's awesome. Now, growing up or even now, do you have a favorite player that you love to watch, NBA or even college too?
Well, my favorite player now is Brandon Goodwin, I would have to say, because I recruited him here at FGCU.
Okay.
He's one of the guys that's in the NBA from our program that led us to back-to-back championships, player of the year in the league. So that's my favorite player in the league now, because obviously he's one of our own. Growing up, it was probably being a Kentucky guy, either Jamal Mashburn or Antoine Walker. Love watching those Kentucky guys, watching them go through Lexington and then get into the NBA. So those are my two favorites. I'd say growing up and right now.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Coach, I think that's about it. It's already been almost 35 minutes. Thank you so much. I mean, is there anything else you want to finish off and say, or is that about it?
Well, I appreciate you having me. I know you're working with Rising Coaches, and that's an organization that's near and dear to my heart. That it didn't seem like that long ago. Myself and some guys were sitting around talking about what the organization could be, and
Yeah.
to watch it be able to grow. And obviously, I've gotten busier as I've gotten older and gone from a video guy to an assistant coach to a head coach. But
Yeah.
it's an organization that I fully support, and I think that it's a great, great resource for young coaches and for guys wanting to get into the business.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining me as my first guest on the Night League. We're so happy to have you, and it's been great getting to know you. And I wish you all the success in head coach.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of
Appreciate you
course.
having me.
Nice meeting you. Bye.